You know what? Out of all the crazy ideas that we have discussed on this YouTube channel, these odd trades and whatever you have, I actually really like this one. Because it goes over the idea of the Montreal Canadiens and Patrik Laine. I'll refer to you this article on Marquee.com by Cedric Gervais. Major trade idea involving Laine. It would be a steal for the Canadiens. Now, the title of the article doesn't really matter. What we're looking at is the most recent edition of the Basu and Godin notebook, wherein on the SDPN YouTube channel they talk about the idea of Patrik Laine and whether or not he would be a good fit with the Montreal Canadiens. Now, if you have a little bit of deja vu, yes, this is the same video podcast that we had discussed Tyler Toffoli from. The folks on that show also brought him up. But this Patrik Laine trade idea was so awesome that I wanted to make a video about this in particular. Because when it comes to Patty Laine, it's kind of an odd situation with the Columbus Blue Jackets at the moment. 26 years old, he's a big dude, 8.7 mil till the end of 25-26. They're looking to move him, he wants a change of scenery, and he had a down year. I'm not going to say a bad year, I'm going to say a down year. Because he only had 9 points in 18 games, he missed a whole chunk of games, and he was in the NHL Players Assistance Program. But before that, he was a point-per-game guy 2 seasons in a row, so Patrik Laine definitely is no slouch. The Montreal Canadiens have been one of these teams that has reportedly been looking for a younger star. Somebody who may be a little bit down on himself right now. Somebody that can bounce back under the proper guidance of Martin St. Louis and in the Montreal environment. Now, I've had my own reservations as to whether or not a guy like Patrik Laine would actually fit in Montreal's pool of media and fans and whatever, especially if he doesn't live up to the expectations that are on him. If he does, though, it'd be great. However, let's go out there and talk about the latest on Patrik Laine via Basu and Godin. This is from the podcast. It was written about in the article, and I wanted to screenshot this over. This is what Basu goes out there and talks about in regards to Patrik Laine. I see a fit for him in Montreal. It's a reasonable risk, and I'm sure Columbus would be willing to keep a percentage of his $8.7 million contract. He is a player whom we hope will benefit from the development structure put in place by the Canadiens. They also have demonstrated several times that they're willing to take a gamble on a player like him. The Doc trade is one, for example. The Newhook trade is another. The Habs have some room to maneuver. Maybe instead of asking Columbus to keep part of his salary, they could add a player like Christian Dvorak, for example, and make his contract go away for next season. I think there are a lot of ways to do a trade like that, but I definitely think it's a good risk to take. Now, the idea of trading Christian Dvorak for a guy like Patrik Laine certainly wouldn't get it done on its own. Like, I think Dvorak is in a lesser valued spot than Laine, even though Laine had this down season. The fact is, there's a lot more potential, not just in terms of their growth over the years, but also in short-term success with Patrik Laine than Christian Dvorak has. I mean, Dvorak hasn't really been much during his time with the Montreal Canadiens. It's almost like he's an afterthought, in a way. But he certainly isn't an afterthought in the mind of Arpon Basus. However, this is not the trade idea that I wanted to talk about. While Christian Dvorak would be yet another center added onto a Columbus team that kinda needs centers, I mean, they have some guys that are okay. Sean Corrali, Adam Fantilli. Some of these guys aren't the best players right now, but you're probably hoping that they get better into the next few years. But when it comes to Marc-Antoine Godin's trade idea, this is the one that I really liked. Marc-Antoine Godin then raised the possibility of seeing Kent Hughes take charge of his entire contract, but rather asked the Blue Jackets to make a swap between the 4th and 5th choices in the draft. A situation which, according to Arpon Basu, would be a very reasonable price for Columbus, who would only move back one spot to part with Patrik Laine's $8.7 million. So, the trade would look like this. To Montreal, Patrik Laine and the 4th overall pick in the 2024 draft, no salary retained, no nothing. To Columbus, the 5th overall pick. This would be a really interesting trade idea, and one that actually benefits both teams. The Montreal Canadiens going from 5th overall to 4th overall would guarantee, essentially, one of the guys that they are eyeing the most. Everybody's talking about Ivan Demidov, everybody's talking about Caden Lindstrom. The fact is, we don't know where these guys are going to go in the draft, where Artem Levshunov goes, and if a guy like Sam Dickinson or Aziv Bouillon could even challenge for one of those top 5 spots. The Montreal Canadiens are in a really mixed bag here. If you assume that Macklin Celebrini is guaranteed to going first, second, third, fourth, and fifth is all over the place here. People are talking about so many different names, but the Montreal Canadiens being so invested into a Caden Lindstrom or an Ivan Demidov will only get their chances of getting that player magnified if they're at number 4 rather than number 5. And on top of this, they help out the Columbus Blue Jackets by saying, hey, we'll take that Patrik Laine contract off of your hands. Based off of the way these negotiations and the media has been reporting about this stuff, it doesn't really seem like the Blue Jackets are interested in trading Laine because they think he's this point-per-game, power forward, sniper guy that can fetch a whole bunch of value. It seems more so like both sides want a second chance and a fit elsewhere. It's not like, hey, we're shopping Laine because we're selling high on this guy. It's he needs a change of scenery. We kind of agree. We're paying him too much money. He's kind of a negative asset, quote unquote, with the way everything has gone down. So with this in mind, would it not be easy for Columbus to say, hey, all we got to do is relinquish our right or our possible right to draft an Ivan Demidov or a Caden Lindstrom, give that player to Montreal, and with that, we'll get rid of Patrik Laine too. Like, we can free up the money, we can free up the roster spot. There's a lot more options here for Columbus if they go from 4 to 5. However, at the end of the day, you could also say that this trade in itself wouldn't really be valued all too positively. If you still think that Laine is a positively valued asset, then okay, this trade is a huge steal for Montreal. Moving up in the draft 1 spot and getting Patrik Laine, if you can guarantee that guy's a point-per-game 30-40 goal stud next year, then okay, that is an amazing deal. Kent Hughes should be all over it. But the fact is, you can't confirm that. Patrik Laine could have another down year. Patrik Laine could be seen as somewhat wasted money because $8.7 million a year is a lot. If he ends up playing pretty badly, or he ends up in the player's assistance program for the majority of the year, then you're not able to use that money. Sure, I get it. I'm totally on board with Laine taking as much time as he needs to rejuvenate himself and get back up to speed. The NHL Players Assistance Program is there for a reason, and players enter it for a reason. We admire those who decide to take those steps to better themselves. But from the on-ice hockey perspective, the business perspective, this doesn't really seem like all too guaranteed of an asset at all. So if you're viewing Patrik Laine still in a positive way, you'd be all over this trade, but the fact is you can't guarantee that there is that much value in Patrik Laine nowadays, especially since both sides, the Blue Jackets and Laine, reportedly want a trade to happen. If the Canadiens can use this situation to say, hey, if you want to give him to us, all you got to do is relinquish your 4th overall pick, we'll give you number 5, then I do this. Imagine adding Patrik Laine and an Ivan Demidov in the same offseason, and then in 2 years, they're both on the team, they're both ripping pucks on goal, they're making plays, they're making things happen. Cole Caulfield is getting 50 goals a year, Juraj Slafkovsky is looking like a beast, and Kirby Dach is the best third-line center in the NHL. How does that sound? Of course, it's a great sell, but you can't guarantee these things, so there's a reason why a trade like this hasn't immediately been made. And of course, for Blue Jackets fans, I mean, there are some that are still saying, hey, I'd rather keep Laine, I'd want to see him come back because he was good the past 2 seasons. It's just, with the way management is talking about it, with the way Laine has perceived this situation, it doesn't seem like there's a fit long-term. Either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the idea of Patrik Laine and the 4th overall pick getting sent over to Montreal for the 5th overall pick. Is this a trade idea that you can get behind? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you're a Blue Jackets fan as well, what are your opinions about this? I'm saying all of this great stuff from the Montreal POV, but for Columbus, would you rather relinquish your right to drafting one of those top 4 guys, moving down a pick, if it meant getting rid of Patrik Laine? Was that an opportunity that you would feel comfortable taking? Let me know what you think. The comment section is your floor. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.